Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Fake Accents Unite. We're on episode 103. I'm joined, as always, by the Britannic Britisher. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are we doing?
You may hear a little bit of joviality in my voice. The Britisher came into chat, and immediately, what was it you said, Britisher? Do tell me.
Full penetrative sex.
Which, as those of you who follow me on Twitter will know, is the Britisher said this on a live stream probably years ago. At this point,
this was Minion Mark. Ago. This was
truly during the Minion Mark stages. As you can hear there, we are joined also by Owine. Good evening, sir.
Shadaiti, to be here.
And as I note, we're also joined by Tailed Feature, who's been waiting in the wings. Good evening, sir.
Veskerma, and what a time to join. Hearing the Britisher saying what he just said.
I can't lie to you guys. I've been crying.
For a moment there, Owine and myself were wondering whether we would be able to go live anytime soon.
We are late by a full 60 seconds due to my tears of joy.
Because our host kind of, how shall we say, he was broken for a while, wasn't he?
He was very much so.
Truly was a great moment. Is my favourite moment. I wish I knew and I could tell you which episode specifically it was from. But I do not know. The Britisher in the past went full penetrative sex, and I do believe, whilst I had Streamlabs running for a temporary period of time, that whenever we had a donation on stream, it would say full penetrative sex in the Britisher's voice as we went along. It was great, but really, I should really figure out what we're going to do with that and that sort of thing. But no, it's a pleasure to have you all with us here tonight for another Fake Accents. As most people can see, this episode is called Audience Appreciation Edition. Usually on these streams we only have time for super chats generally, and we also have obviously the news stories of the week and the general gist of various bits and pieces that we want to talk about, but I want to give special attention this week to the chat, so if you're sending your messages in there, don't be alarmed if we bring them up and we discuss them on stream, and if there's anything that you want to have discussed, no need for a super chat or anything like that, although they are appreciated, but you just send them through the stream, and we'll talk about them. But generally, guys, like how has your week been? Let's start with the Britisher. How's it going?
Well, it's how shall we say? It was the labours of Sisyphus, as I was trying to roll a certain rock up a hill that never wanted to get there.
Have you been doing a Prometheus and tried to steal some fire from the gods once again?
Along those lines, and I have published the fire that I stole from the gods about an hour or two ago. And it seems to be going down fairly well. So
Are you referring to the week that was? As
No. Basically, I was still running on doing my magnum opus even on Saturday, and then sort of tried to do the week that was at the same time so that I could finally finish this thing. Then I sort of uploaded them both and obviously published the week that was, but asked the, you know how you can have a clip previewed before it's even published? Because like that, you know that YouTube will it will be less likely to change its mind on said video once it's actually given the okay.
Well, one would hope, anyway, yes.
So, yes, after that was done, I even got a mysterious phantom like, would you believe it? So it kind of added something like 3 views with YouTube having looked at it, and there was suddenly a like.
So I can believe.
I'm wondering whether someone at YouTube actually liked it.
I can believe that 3 phantom views are from you checking the video, but the phantom like sounds like the worst superpower that anyone could ever have.
It's the ghost of YouTube past.
It's about to become a Marvel episode, you know, with Iron Man and various other superheroes in it, and there's going to be the Phantom Liker.
Well, you know how like you can have the drinking games. You know who can come up with the worst possible superpower? The ability to like a video but not know which video it is, or the ability to like a video but it's always unlisted. It's just the worst ability I could possibly comprehend.
See, when British was talking about his Roman analogies there, as always, perfect. I was thinking, wouldn't it be awesome for 1 month the British becomes Britannius, and then all he does the whole month is Roman videos. Roman month.
What do you make of it, Britisher? Can you do it?
Would I become Britannicus or would I become Britunculus?
That could be the subject of your first Roman video.
Well, yes, because the Romans had a sort of a slur for the sort of the little Britons who were pretending to be Romans, and it was the Britunculi. That was not a flattering term. Let's put it like that.
You don't really consider yourself to be Little Britain or Little Britannicus, though, do you, Britisher? I mean, let's face the facts. You were raised on the European continent. You're more of a European citizen than you are British.
Of course. Yes.
Britisher's a Brennanus.
On that...
He's a pretender. That's what we get.
A Brennulus, yes. No, I mean, we've seen the pictorial evidence. I mean, I was the one who, let's say, motivated the various gentlemen to build Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, Britisher. You motivated almost every single European historical event of note. I mean, a 20-year-old Britisher feeling particularly edgy decided to whisper in a certain Austrian failed painter's ear, and thus kick-started controversy.
No, I think I can say. I think my record is quite clear on that. That I definitely disavow everything Austrian.
I bet you whispered in the Roman Emperor's ear, just going, "I hear those islands have got gold on them."
Mm-hmm.
And then history as we knew it happened. But I was just about to say that you mentioned Stonehenge. I can't leave that go, architecture guy. All right. Did you know the stones from Stonehenge come from Wales? They're Welsh bluestone.
Do they
come from Pembrokeshire. Yeah, they do. And also,
be careful, you'll summon Harrion.
Harrion is not Welsh. Well, I was like, he posted the other day.
He's a rock
Is he not? Is he not? I swear he's Welsh.
He's Manc. He's a Manc.
Oh my goodness! I've known Mancs.
Imagine laughing as a Welshman.
Nobody called Harrion Gladys is not Welsh.
There's a V in it. I keep telling you, there's no V in Welsh.
He's doing very well, actually. Is Harrion Gladys? What with his channel, he's now over 8,000 subscribers, and well done to him. He's done very well for himself, and I definitely recommend that you go check out stuff that he's done, because I'm sure he'll pass this channel soon enough.
Count Emsley called him pseudo rock fondler.
Soon as if he keeps pumping out quality material that he is doing at the moment, he'll do very well. No, best.
When does he do quality material?
More strength to his elbow.
Indeed. Apparently, according to chat, they're saying not all the rocks from Stonehenge would come from Wales, though. Owain, you can't take credit for all of it.
Well, there's a trick. See, there used to be a running gag in my uni. It's like, how long can Owain go without connecting something to Wales? Just name something and I'll do it.
What did you do at university?
Sheep shagging.
That's what I'm. There's a Scottish-Welsh rivalry going on right there.
Yeah, we don't eat bloody pig. Well, you don't eat haggis, you know. Like, who comes up with haggis? You try and come up with
not the Scots. We didn't invent it.
Yeah, you didn't invent half your stuff. You didn't even invent kilts. That's an English thing.
Well, that's not quite true, but I know what you mean.
I don't think the English will claim credit for kilts, to be honest.
No, the modern kilt is a 18th century. It was invented. I think it was a Yorkshireman, because there was a load of Highlanders went down to work in the mills, and obviously they had the great plaid on, which went right over their chest and everything. And they kept getting caught in the machine, and the guy was like, "Right, I'll make you one that just goes around your waist."
I do have Scottish ancestry as well, but I won't say which clan that is, because I may get in big trouble.
There is something comic there, isn't there? Basically the Scotsman in some great plaid blanket, and somewhere an end gets caught in the machinery, and slowly he turns like a spindle as this thing disappears into the machinery. Am I the only person
he was
who's
laughing
seen...
as
Yes, no, I mean, yes. He must definitely have been appreciating the comical aspects of it as he slowly gets drawn towards imminent death.
Threshing machine, yes.
How did you die? I was threshed. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's pretty metal way to go.
It's pretty
metal.
I mean, what was it there? The threshing floor. I mean,
If they can't turn the machine off soon enough, he might be threshed thrice.
Threshed? What happened to you? I was threshed thrice.
And that's how they invented haggis.
The only way, interestingly, the only reason I know what a threshing floor is through my religious upbringing. When it came up at some point whilst we were talking about separating the wheat from the chaff, and then suddenly it was the threshing floor came up and all that jazz. But funnily enough, my how would I describe it? My English education didn't provide me with the relative knowledge, the necessary knowledge of what a threshing floor generally was. But yeah, it is what it is.
The Romans invented it.
Makuta Pterodax is telling us that the kilt is descended from the Gaelic garment, a cloak called the brat, which goes back to the 11th century. So there you go. Like, your entire history is a lie, Tailed. How do you feel about that?
That's a new one to me. That story, I've heard something completely
that one before,
but whatever. Yeah. I don't think there's a generally agreed upon history.
If we all open a restaurant together, can we agree that whatever products we have will be artisanally thrice threshed?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? Welsh cuisine, though, it's very hard to thresh. It's mainly
cheese on toast.
Do the Welsh have a cuisine?
We do. We have quite a varied cuisine.
Describe to me a dish which is quintessentially Welsh.
Well, you got cheese on toast.
Cheese on toast? I've had cheese on toast. I wouldn't consider that Welsh.
It's called Welsh, right? Anyway, you've also got cockles and seaweed. Is a Welsh dish.
That's one of the worst things I've ever... Cockles and seaweed?
Yeah, that's a Welsh dish.
All right.
We also have a dish called cawl, which is a lamb soup made with, which is basically lamb soup in a kind of a leek base with
lamb and leek soup.
Yeah, lamb and leek soup. It's got a bit of everything in it. It's a broth. It's essentially a broth, but it's not Scottish broth, which is worse. So, and we also have many desserts. Show you a dessert. We have great teas. We do Welsh cakes. You got bara brith, which is kind of like raisin, lots of raisins and like kind of fruity seeds, and all. So it's we got quite a few things. We make really good ice cream as well. We have a honey ice cream, which is pretty cool.
So you're trying to claim that bread and broth are what all Wales can offer?
No,
at this point,
I think the French and the Italians are quivering in their boots at this culinary challenge.
Well, apart from the fact I spent some time in Nice, right, and that my time in France.
Barry right again.
Oh, sorry. How's that? I have no idea.
Can you say "Dive my Hawkman"?
Dive my Hawkman.
There we go. That's Brian Blessed, I believe, in Flash Gordon, is it not?
The audio.
I think the next test would be Gordon's alive.
Gordon's alive.
Has the audio recovered? That's the question.
Yes.
Marvelous.
Yes.
So as I was saying, I was in Nice in France, doing a little bit of travelling post discharge from the Air Force, and you note that all of the posh French dishes are just peasant dishes tarted up.
Hell,
it's just that's all it is, and so I think
culture renowned for being peasants.
I don't think that making the French quake in their culinary boots is that much of a compliment.
I got to be honest here. I think French cuisine's pretty crap. Italian is number one, right, by far.
Italian just can't help but be generally Italian cuisine. I feel like it doesn't excel in one particular area, but they've managed to make a dish which is just universally pleasing to everyone. And when it's done well, obviously you can tell it's done well.
Yeah.
But it's just no one can really fault like just like a general tagliatelle. It's like the hardest to fuck up food that you could possibly have.
Exactly. Whilst I think a lot of German foods don't get enough kind of love because some of their meats are amazing.
German foods,
German meats, man.
like
Some
what?
of that, some
What
really
are
nice.
you? Some kind of Nazi?
No, God, not at all. But hey, look, I'd say even Spanish food's better. Like what was it? Spanish pork, right? Spanish pork steak.
No. Stand by your convictions, Hibbler. That's what that is.
I'm backing out of this one. I'm not going down that route.
I did have a fun conversation actually with my other half the other day about British foods, because of course, like the British palate and the British recipe book was utterly decimated by rationing, which is something.
America.
Which is, well, it's not even America, it's just that a lot of things that people would traditionally associate with British cooking were just effectively obliterated across 3 generations. Because not just were the ingredients not there, but obviously the recipes themselves were lost. So we had things like, you look back at times in the Tudors and the obsession with sugar, with jelly, with things like different pies even, and different meals in that regard, and how we lost a lot of the recipes just due to the fact that everyone only had 2 eggs a week available.
And bacon. Bacon sandwiches.
Do excuse the fact, I appear to have developed the hiccups. But there we go. Britisher, do you have any comment?
I still find it somewhat difficult to just basically sort of let it stand that, French cuisine is, to quote, crap. Whereas the only decent European cuisine apparently is Italian, with a bit of German thrown in, and apparently the Spanish make good pork.
Look,
they make amazing pork.
There are lots of good deals, lots of good meals across Europe. But my point on Italy was not that they are the best, but that they have the most universally pleasing. Right? The Greeks have got olives and feta cheese and stuff like that. But let's face it, for most people, they're an acquired taste. You've got the Spanish who have their tapas, but really that's comparable with across the pond. You've got the Mexican side of things. I appreciate that Mexican is a derivative in many ways of Spanish, but
I was not pleased by Mexican.
But that's what we've got. The Italians have their universally pleasing stuff. The Germans love to do quantity, but not quality. But there's nothing against the Germans, but they do a lot of bland meats together. And
this is more important that we fill you up before, rather than
the
test pads. Yeah.
The idea with the Germans, the Swiss, and the some of the lesser Scandinavian countries is that you don't finish your plate. If you finish your plate, then they didn't provide enough food, and they carry on.
That's very inefficient of the Germans, to be fair.
Very, very inefficient indeed. But as opposed to being a British person going across there, where you're taught always finish what's on your plate, and then they're like, "Well, we must layer you up with another serving if you do not possibly."
I have a story about this. Right, I had one of my best mates had a Scandinavian grandmother, and she was like a very nice old lady. And I had to sit there. We had a pizza, but we also had a salad, and I can't stand salad. I just can't stand. I don't eat rabbit food.
The Scottish part of you then.
Just jumping, yeah, exactly. Just jumping off that for a second. I was visited by a friend who was also called Mark, interestingly enough, who I met through, to my shame, online gaming. He's now a pilot for EasyJet. But he came down, and we went to a Wetherspoons, and he was deeply distressed when the attendant at Wetherspoons brought him his burger with a salad attached.
Yeah,
and he genuinely had a massive go at this poor server. He was like, "I don't want tomato and lettuce on my meat."
Exactly. And but the thing was, you had to finish the dish, otherwise no dessert. And I wanted ice cream, and so She sat me down. I had to sit there with a glass of water and trying to eat this one leaf of lettuce, one glass of water and a leaf at the time, because I just can't. It was just awful. And I was trying to be so polite, but you only could try so hard, and you nibble it like a rabbit. Ugh.
There must be some Scottish blood in you somewhere. Tailed will let you know.
Well, he already said he's got Scottish ancestry, and I said that must be the Scottish bit.
It must be. It must be.
I can't say which clan. I get in trouble.
Campbell, I bet.
Jumping to the chat,
isn't it?
It is.
Jumping to the chat for a second. So Scowen says T-minus 240 seconds and counting. I'm pretty sure we were about 60 seconds late, but I apologise once again that we were slightly beyond the time. Oh, wait, what? So Scowen donated $79.40.
Interesting.
Thank you. That's amazing. That's an unbelievable amount of money. Thank you so much. And says, correction, you are 83 seconds late. This will be added to your 2,432,227 seconds late. At this point, small towns could be built in the time that you have been delayed. From clearing out forests, laying infrastructure, and the first citizens could have moved in. Thank you so much, dude.
He's getting quite elaborate with his getting stuff.
like the more elaborate they are, the more we love them. To be fair, truly, at some point I should design a shirt based entirely around Scowen, and the time at which we are late for this show. But it's truly a pleasure, man, and I think that money couldn't have come at a better time, and so I really appreciate it. I won't say any more on that. You can message me privately if you want to chat to me about that. Jedi Knight Anakin Cringewalker says, the greatest disappointment in my travels has been visiting Scotland to sample some haggis, only to discover the SNP has banned it. Has the SNP banned haggis?
No.
Is it something in a specific area? Or are they not allowed to take it out the country or something? I know there's certain restrictions
on calories
outside. Well, no, I know there's certain restrictions. I know there's restrictions on haggis coming out of Scotland because certain areas have food standards which don't allow offal to be used in the way in which it's used for haggis. Which is a crying shame, by the way, because as anyone who has tried haggis will tell you, if you have good haggis, it's delicious.
I'm told.
Yeah. It is genuinely with some tatties, with some potatoes. I've had haggis wraps, and they are a bastardization to be sure.
Do you know what's a mad wrap that exists? Right,
Go on.
At Christmas time, have you ever had a roast dinner wrap? A Yorkshire pudding. It's a roast dinner wrapped in a Yorkshire pudding.
Roast wrapped in a Yorkshire pudding. I mean, surely
it's a whole roast dinner with gravy as well and everything, wrapped inside of a big Yorkshire pudding.
Surely that's just a regular roast, though, is it not?
Yeah.
No, but it's like a wrap you carry. It's great.
Have you only had mini Yorkshire puddings with your roasts?
I have had a roast inside of a Yorkshire pudding before. I've had the full, big, proper Yorkshire pudding. Before, but that I just thought it was really cool having a kind of carrying a roast dinner around in a Yorkshire pudding.
Truly, we have the most interesting topics on Fake Accents Unite. We're next level.
Beige Accents Unite tonight.
Britisher. Well, what's your best roast dinner that you've had? Come on.
I honestly do not recollect.
You've never had a roast dinner, have you?
I do recollect having roast dinners, but not to the point where I could specifically point to one experience in my life in which roast dinners have just, superseded any previous roast dinners. Sorry.
You're not British until you have one every Sunday.
Look, come on. Have you even drank port?
No, I have not drunk port.
Not even a sip.
Oh my god!
What is this? How can you call yourself the Britisher when you have missed out on such quintessentially British? Like, I have dived headfirst over a burning piano after a pint of port. Like, how can you not have experienced what it is to be quintessentially
Maybe I was
British?
trying to avoid having to dive across a burning piano.
To be fair, diving across a burning piano whilst the padre at your unit plays it,
I thought it was an army bear. I really did.
Is just next level. There are some great drinking games. Like,
oh no, they drinking
like don't get me wrong. Like, first off, there's Stow Your Vessel. So I was drinking with these Navy guys, and the idea with it is if you finish off any vessel, so that could be a gravy boat, could be a pint glass, could be a bowl of soup, could be anything. You need to get confirmation from someone else at the table that this vessel is indeed vacant. Once you place that vessel down, that's fine. But if you fail to confirm that your vessel is empty, the vessel must be immediately refilled and seen off. And this could go round in loops, because once you finish drinking that, you must obviously check it again to make sure it's empty. These sorts of things. Making sure that your drink is at least one middle finger's length away from the edge of the table. Otherwise, it must immediately be seen off. The number of sort of 10+ night benders that I've ended up having as a result of just these two drinking games alone, ridiculous. That not to mention the game of fives. I assume you all know the game of fives.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it?
Yes. I can't remember the rules though.
Oh, I mean, the game of fives is simple, right? You put your two fists in front of you, and someone else puts their two fists up. You one of you calls a number at the same time as which you reveal either a 0 or a 5 with each hand. Yeah. So if there's the two of you, the max is 20. The minimum, the minimum is 0, and it goes up in units of 5. And if you get the correct number, then you're out the game. Of course, you have the added rule that if you call the number correctly, but you celebrate too early, you're back in the game again. So if someone's out the game, you get out the game, and then they say, high five! Then, and you give them that high five, then you're back in the game again, I'm afraid, and you have to keep going.
Yeah.
Nature of the thing. There's usually a horrendous forfeit.
Yeah, from my uni days, I have drinking PTSD, so with drinking games. The Ring of Fire is the worst thing. Have you obviously played Ring of Fire, Mark? You must have.
Oh yes, go on.
Yes, yeah. It's just
for the sake of the audience,
my
friend, explain the rules.
Oh God, right. I'll literally type them up. So you need a deck of cards first, ladies and gents. That is the required one, right? So each card is assigned a rule, isn't it? You get different rules. You have the pint glass in the middle. Okay, that'll be the sacrificial pint. Kind of the dirty pint to be called.
The dirty pint,
yes. Yeah, the most dreaded thing in drinking in the UK.
It can contain literally anything from pure spirits to washing up powder.
Once it was Guinness, Baileys, and vodka.
The worst thing I ever had with it was a mixture of vodka, whiskey, amaretto, schnapps, and washing powder with a light dusting of raspberry liqueur.
Yeah,
that was grim.
So let's go through each card means 2. If you pick up a 2, the player who drew the card picks someone to drink. Nice and simple. The best one, most default cards. If you pick a 3, the player who drew the card has to drink. If you take a 4, all those who identify as female have to drink. You can see the person who wrote these rules. Progressive. All female have to drink. Number 5, Thumb Master. You know the thumb rule. Some people make this a pinky rule. It's a thumb rule.
Go on.
The thumb rule is that so whoever has this card at random intervals can put their thumb on the table, and once they put their thumb on the table, the last person to follow them by putting their thumb on the table has to drink. Then you got 6. All those who are male have to drink, and then you have 7, which is heaven. The player who drew the card must point to the sky, and at any chosen time before the next 7 is drawn, and the last person who points to the sky must drink. So it's you got to be perceptive at all times, and then usually These games are typically designed for the person who's the most drunk will be the one who will get the most drunk through this again, because they're going to be the ones always.
Well, they
losing.
forget the rules, don't they?
Yeah, and they also get picked on quite heavily. This is if you're unlucky, right, and you're the butt of the joke in your group, you're going to get chosen constantly to do all the annoying shit. Number 8 is a mate, so you gotta pick a drinking mate and you gotta drink. Number 9 is a rhyme. So the player drew the card, says a word, and then you have to go around in a circle rhyming with that word until someone messes up. Number 10 then is categories, basically a quiz trivia thing. You think of a category and you gotta go around in a circle. So cars, Ford, Renault, whatever. Then you got the jack, which is make up a rule. The rule could be you can't say any like nouns or adjectives, and if you're dyslexic like me, have hell. You could have a queen, which is the question master, which is if someone answers your question, they got to drink. If you ask a question and they answer it, they have to drink, which is one of the fun ones, I think. It's one of the 4 fun ones. And then the king is the player who drew the card must pour some of their drink into the cup in the middle.
Oh yeah, and it makes the dirty pint worse.
Yeah, and then it's the last king that gets drawn. You have to drink, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really grim.
Yeah, and the ace is a waterfall, which is everyone has to drink. There we go.
Rules, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone drinks. There's all the rules. I appreciate everyone for suffering through that.
Sorry.
Aces are everyone drinks queendom. Thank you very much for messaging in. Anakin Cringe Walker jumping back to his message about the fact that the haggis had been banned when he visited Scotland. He says they had it banned from being served in a stomach. There you go. Is this something which is a common occurrence, Tails? Do you know?
Well, I mean, it's traditionally, the heart's lung liver of a sheep boiled in its own stomach, but I've never had it in stomach before, so I don't think it's. I don't think it was the SNP we can blame for this one, to be fair. But I don't know. I do not profess to be an expert on butchery, to be fair.
In some ways, Britisher, I greatly admire your strength of will, shall we say. For those of you who don't know, the Britisher is teetotal, as in he drinks tea totally all the time and nothing else. Which includes...
It's not quite true. I mean, I'm here sipping lemonade as we speak.
Sipping lemonade? At least, tell me it's at least San Pellegrino.
Actually, it is.
It is San Pellegrino.
Yes, it is actually, San Pellegrino Limonata.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
Knew full well he's betrayed us for the Spanish.
No, that would be Italian, wouldn't it?
Is it Italian, San
Pellegrino?
I think
San Pellegrino is Italian,
anyway,
yeah.
But, glorious. I love that I called that. Everyone...
Your psychic powers are improving.
I mean, to be fair, according to the law, we are just across the room from one another. So, who knows?
Of course, yeah.
It's fantastic. San Pellegrino.
So he's just there with a little straw going into his jar.
I have kind of partaken of whiskey.
Have
particularly,
you?
Yes, particularly when it comes to sort of, flus and throat infections and whatever. Therefore I have actually come to appreciate some whiskey over others.
Just for that, according to the law, just before we go to bed tonight, I'm dropping an extra tea bag in your jar tonight. That's what's gonna happen.
Sorry.
I'm just gonna applaud the fact that you found it.
Oh,
so I assume
Mark, you didn't know what you just said, pal.
I'm gonna drop an extra tea bag in his jar tonight.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna teabag his jar. That's a completely different proposition. No one should take that for what it potentially sounds like. But
I haven't even drunk anything.
So I assume you've not drunk anything. For those of you who have not clicked just yet for this audience appreciation episode, I've just finished 5 liters of IPA. So this is what the episode is. This is what it's going to be.
This is the 5-liter broadcast, is it?
The 5-liter. It's like a mini keg. I love it. It's great. And I've got the last glass of it here. which unfortunately is going to last as long as it's going to last. Yes, I as I say, this episode is supposed to be the audience appreciation thing. Makuta Deradak says, I had a lovely deep fried haggis with iron brew and a Tunnocks tea cake for afterwards. I then had a couple of hours later tea with some shortbread and porridge for breakfast. You can't get much more Scottish than that, unless you're the Britisher, excuse me, who claims that, of course, a Tunnocks tea cake is the least Scottish thing on the planet.
Oh, of course, yes. I mean, that is not at all misrepresenting what I ever said. It's factually absolutely correct that is exactly how I put it.
Exactly.
I'm not Sue. I won't get triggered.
Full penetrative tea cakes, yes.
Full penetrative tea cakes, yes. Again, like referring to what British is talking about there, I was asked what my favourite Fake Accents Unite moment was, and it's probably around episode 30 or 40 or so, when the British, completely unironically and unannounced, decided to declare that full penetrative sex was on the agenda for whatever it was that we were talking about at the time. I don't even remember the context, but it's just my
Neither
favorite.
do I.
It's just
it's
my
a long
favorite
time
moment.
ago.
It's just my favorite. Like, how do you feel about the fact that we've been doing this for 2 years, man? Like, that's crazy, right?
I am just beginning to wonder what I've done with my life. Yes.
Thanks. Well, I hope that you consider this to be a worthwhile part of your endeavours. Like, come on. People saying 100. Like, people are now moaning at me for drinking so little. 100 is not so obvious drunk. I wouldn't say that I'm drunk yet, but I've been drinking. That's the way I'm going to put it. Mini keg, you degenerate. You need to drink from a proper anchor. Look, I would if it was available to me, but a good friend of mine offered me this mini keg, 5 litres, that of this specialty 6.5% IPA from a company called Hiver, who do urban beekeeping, and they produce this honey IPA, and it is the best beer I've ever drank in my entire life. And yeah, there you go, free advertisement for them. I assume that most of you are not in London or the UK, and therefore won't be able to go to the website or Instagram of Hiver UK to take advantage of this endorsement, but hey, there you go, free endorsement for Hiver, why not? NSO, Harry Channel says NSO not so obliterated. So there you go. If it was available to me, so you can easily buy them. Besides, I'm allowed to complain about your toddler levels of drinking as a Dane. I don't think that 9 pints is that
9? How
low.
much? What percentage?
6.5%.
Yeah, Simora. Jesus Christ, Mark.
It's alright. The worst bender I went on, actually, I don't know if it was even the worst. We had 1 bottle of vodka, then we went to a bar and had 18 pints of Guinness. And that was a proper lock-in. Apart from one of my friends, a chap called Sean, who decided to have 16 pints of Guinness, then 2 pints of Pilsner in about 30 seconds, trying to keep up with the pub landlord that we were talking to at the moment. And he was quite violently ill at that point, because you do not mix Pilsner, like a super hoppy, really quite fizzy beer, with Guinness, like heavy chocolate syrup and bog water.
No, you don't mix much with Guinness.
Completely ridiculous. Ridiculous.
The two things you don't mix are cider with anything and Guinness with anything.
Burnsy3210 saying, use discount code NSO for 10% off. I wish, man. Like, I'd love to get sponsors on this channel. Like, obviously, it would only ever be stuff that I had approved and actually enjoyed and so on and so forth. And preferably ones that didn't have stupid politics. Like, people talked about Dollar Shave Club being a really good sponsor. I apologise to anyone who can hear a helicopter in the background right now. Yeah, so Dollar Shave Club being a really good one, and then they massively cucked, and it's like, how many sponsors am I actually willing to take on who aren't massive cucks or CCP shills. Like, I would never support Raid Shadow Legends, do you guys? That would be ridiculous. And I know how much Count Dankula takes per video for that, and let me tell you, it's 4 figures a video, which is ridiculous, the amount, and it's not a small amount either. So, there you go. Tis what, tis. Why can't you send a super chat, Harry Anglerleaf? That's what I'm curious about. Do let me know. Was I talking to Al Murray? No. I haven't been talking to the pub landlord. Not in London or the UK. Am I suggesting that London is outside the UK? Am I right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, London isn't outside the UK, but it's a different breed. It is not an English city. So, I mean, I've just spent a week in Norwich. And lovely city that it is, lots of history, lots of that sort of thing. London doesn't really have the same thing. It has some history, but it's all kind of hidden behind modern facades, a lot of glass, and it kind of seems timeless in the sense that it's always trying to keep up with the times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, not a massive fan of London. The sooner I get out of here, the better. Why AA decides that he wants to live here, I do not know. Is it your boy NSO with the Raid Shadow Legends? That sounds remarkably similar to another channel that I watch called Business Blaze, which says, "Is it your boy NSO with the boy with the blaze?" Business Blaze is a great channel, by the way.
Fair, the best Raid Shadow Legends kind of sponsors is probably Internet Historians ones.
Internet Historian actually puts effort into his ads. He's the only person who I've ever been just happy to see what he does next with it. Like, the guy...
Yeah.
Aside from anything else, because, like, there's a couple of channels out there which have, like, these little hidden interviews with him. One's before he got famous, and one's after. And they're both just absolute gold. So if you're a fan of Internet Historian, I thoroughly recommend.
What was it last time? Raycon Man. And it's like a superhero. He's got a wired headphones.
Raycon good, wires bad. Yeah, 100%. Like, truly great.
Why is he not a marketing genius?
The man is great, and he thoroughly deserves everything that he has. Do you know Internet Historian, Britisher? Are you familiar?
I've more than likely come across him, but without seeing anything of his right now, just from the name, it doesn't ring a bell.
Straight after this stream, man, I thoroughly recommend you look up his channel and you look up his 2 recent videos, both of which are on the coronavirus, and just the editing and the scripts on that are out of this world.
The scripts on it are insanely good.
Phenomenal. He does have a second channel where he just randomly goes around places.
The architecture one he did there.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Silly Sailor... no, I can't say Silly Sailor stuff. I will get to yours in a second. But Harry Channel says, full-size Yorkshire puddings are the Chad option. Small ones are virgin popovers. I thoroughly agree. Thoughts, panel?
Aunt Bessie's is quite nice. The small ones. Don't at me.
Look, I appreciate a crispy treat, but it's not a Yorkshire pudding. A Yorkshire pudding has to fill the entire plate. It has to be effectively a repository for a shitload of gravy. How do you feel about that? Tail?
Sorry, what? Say that again?
How do you feel about Yorkshire puddings?
They're all right. I mean,
I appreciate I'm asking a man with virtually no taste buds, but
and also someone who developed a gluten allergy a couple of years ago.
So.
Got in, dude.
Yeah, so I can't even
have zombie bread.
I can't have Yorkshire pudding. I can't have gravy either. So
no! If you make the gravy properly and do it with corn flour instead, you can't have it gluten free.
Yeah, but effort.
You have to actually make the gravy.
I pretty much live on like sandwiches, so.
Well, with zombie bread.
Yeah.
Ooh. Zombie bread. What the fuck is zombie bread?
Gluten-free bread, dude. It's like powder.
Like
or it's like a slab of polystyrene.
I have Irish soda bread. How's that different to?
It has slightly less gluten in it than normal bread.
Like as far as I'm aware, I don't know. I've never had to do gluten free. I don't know. There are plenty of like
good mate of mine.
At least as the progressive agenda advances, you can be guaranteed that Sainsbury's and Asda and Lidl and whatnot will attempt to cater to your demographic tail. So there you go, I guess.
Tail, if you watch South Park, at least your dick won't fly off. That's the South Park joke for anyone in the audience.
That was
I'm not familiar with that one, but
what was that? Like
gluten-free Ebola.
Yeah. Gluten-free Ebola. But I'm trying to remember what the name of the film was that was parodying. It was one with Johnny Depp where he becomes like a computer intelligence.
Oh, Transcendence.
Transcendence. And it was like there are so many what I would call effectively for films like generic effects. And one of them is turning things into liquids or dust. Right? Because it's such a relatively easy, in inverted commas, relatively easy effect to pull off with CGI at this point.
Yeah.
Especially given the budgets that these films are working to. And so whenever you see one of these things, you get the kind of uncanny valley thing of like, it's not real, it doesn't really impact you, it's not even really a spectacle, it's just something that some like low-level YouTuber like myself could pull off with 5 minutes practice and a tutorial on YouTube, right?
Yeah, melting though in practical effects, like Indiana Jones when his face melts in the first run. That scarred me.
I watched From Dusk Till Dawn for the first time the other day. The Quentin Tarantino executively produced flick where they basically made it into a crime thriller. And then didn't know where to go. We're like, fuck it, vampires in Mexico.
That's the batshit crazy one. Yeah,
and they've got so many practical effects.
Remember now?
It's amazing. If you haven't seen the film, thoroughly recommend.
It's one of his earlier ones, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And complete with Quentin Tarantino's massive foot fetish. It's really funny. Really good stuff. Has Selma Hayek and a snake in it.
Yeah,
and interestingly, she was terrified of snakes, and basically the only reason she took the job was they claimed that Madonna had also been offered the job and was considering it.
Oh.
So she spent 2 months with therapists, making sure she could get over her fear of snakes, so she could dance with this snake in this club, just so that she could spite a fake job offer to Madonna, which wasn't actually going through. And yeah, so there you go. The woman's hatred of Madonna was truly next level. I hope that was a new piece of trivia to everyone. Silly Salia says, Britisher, when will you get drunk on a whiskey stream? I can hear it now. I fucking love you, Mark. You're like a Roman to me.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, is it, man? Do you appreciate everything that I've done for your channel, Britisher? That's what I want to know.
Oh, enormously.
You get to be a citizen of Rome. You get to be a citizen of Rome. You get to be a citizen of Rome.
The Britopera.
It's just the whole night is just British. Just like, if I was the Roman Empress at this time, I would have done it like this. They don't do it right.
And last but not least, Harry Engledive says, #RockGang, #Simp for Real Queens, #Tafts Rise Up, #Eject Scotland. P.S. Thank you for shilling me. Money's in the post. PPS. 24-hour stream on my channel soon. Right. Well, I take back everything that I said about Harry Engledive. Unsubscribe. And
yeah, Floor Gang is better than Rock Gang.
Dislike bomb all his videos. I'm joking, of course. Thank you very much, Harry Engledive, for your
he's become King of Wales in their CK2 thing, and it's absolutely disgusting.
I've been really surprised by Harry Ann. I thought that his channel name alone would be really a problem. But he now if you search just Harry Ann by itself, his channel comes up. He's got really good growth, and he's produced a few videos which have done over 20,000 views.
GG.
But yeah, those of you who are against Rock Gang and on the side of Fake Accents Unite, please put hashtag Fake Accenteer into the chat and go with that. And as you can see on the stream, please buy a shirt because it keeps us in business.
Does anybody know who is actually talking into the microphone right now?
Oh my god, has it gone that bad? Jesus.
You go, hey. Oh. No, you're normal again. Stop, wait.
Well, as normal as you can be.
As normal as I can go, really.
Hello.
I do apologise.
Have we lost
Again,
him?
I think...
Are we still deep?
No, you're good.
Okay. Right.
You've left Ivan Rebrov territory.
Marvellous. Unfortunately, as those of you who are in the know do know, who've been following me on Twitter, I and Parler, in fact, in Parler as well, which I thoroughly support. We are lacking a desk at the moment. The landlord got rid of my desk when I moved back in, so at the moment the mic is kind of wobbling around a bit, and the sound quality is somewhat variable. So that's what we're going for. I should be getting a desk in the next week or so. That's the plan. Although it looks like delivery costs are a real pain in the ass. Tis what it is. Right, where were we?
Can I just say as well?
Yeah, go
before
on.
I just check it Twitter. So vote for me against John D in AA's UO war, please. UO tournament, please. I'm the best Welshman. I need to be the best one.
Are you claiming you're the best Welshman? Are you really trying to compete with the likes of Shinobi and AA himself?
Young ambition. He'll appreciate this. Trust me.
Youthful exuberance got me labelled as fucking Minion Mark for 6 months. It's not the greatest.
well, yeah, that's true. I'm stable boy. Well, I'm Gary. I'm bloody Gary Neville. That's what I am.
Exactly. I mean, chat is talking to me right now. They're saying Shinobi is the best Welshman. Shinobi is best. Harry Angladive is claiming he's the King of Wales, which is
he is not,
as we all know, utter bullshit. But yeah, no, 100%. Shinobi has my respect. He's wrong on occasion. He's despite his claims of scientific literacy, I find him to be a little bit lacking. But
Shinobi is the Merlin to me being Arthur. That's what it is.
He's the one with all the power.
Yeah,
but I'm the one who gets big, you know.
I could see Merlin being I could see Shinobi being Merlin. Like, could happen.
Yeah.
Why not? 6 months.
Would he be the Merlin in the manner of Merlin in the film Excalibur?
In the film?
I've
not seen. Like,
You've not seen a film. Now there's a surprise.
I really like Arthurian lore, and it's one of my favorite things. But I've not seen the film Excalibur, which is fair.
In that case, you are actually someone who particularly likes Arthurian things. That might be one to catch up on.
Fair enough. I shall add it to the list of things to pick up on. I really like. There's been plenty of takes on Arthurian lore, which are interesting. I kind of got it, like Arthurian stuff. I got spurred on through a mixture of two influences, which are kind of adjacent to Arthurian lore, but not actual Arthurian lore, which is Tomb Raider Legends, which is a great game, by the way, where she's searching for her dad, and there's a sword, which is Excalibur, and blah 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 blah. Lots of Arthurian influences there, and secondly, Stargate. Stargate did a big thing with Arthur and Merlin and that sort of thing towards the end, which is really great. Definitely appreciate it. Colin P. Smith saying, I could recommend a really good series of lectures on the history of Arthurian legend. Link me up, my dude. I definitely would appreciate that. Would love it.
Sexy Peterson.
Yeah. Sexy Peterson. Chat is saying, Mighty Ballsack said, Arthur was cucked.
Well, yes, technically. Technically speaking, but he did get the girl in the end, did he not? Like all the other Knights of the Round Table, like Sir Gawain, who is Sir Owain in the story, gets He's the Green Knight, isn't he? And
are you Sir Owain purely because of Sir Gawain?
No, my name is Owain, after Owain Glyndŵr, who was a rebel against the English. Yes, that's why.
I see.
My
I
name comes
shan't
from.
be inviting you on a stream again. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, he did lose. He did lose, but
You're damn right he did. No one prevails against the.
Did he at least lose gracefully?
He did actually. He lost in great form. But the problem is that we had England on their knees, right? And the Scots were there, and the Scots turned tail and left because they got bored, as they do, because they got what they wanted. The French turned up. They did turn up with a big force to help us, but then they decided, oh wait, we could have all of England if we wanted. We just give Wales this little bit, and then we can have all of it. And then they were like, nope.
Was that the Pakistani contingent there?
Yeah, well, my accent makes everything hard to do accents. But yeah, so basically we ended up being left on our own, and the English crushed us then.
You're goddamn right. Also, fuck.
Yeah, I like it how it was the Welsh who had the English on their knees, and then one mentions that the French were present.
The French turned up, and then they left.
And then when the French left, the English crushed the Welsh, which is kind of a strange way of the Welsh having the English on their knees. But, well, there you go.
Let's face it, the English have always had the Welsh on their knees. I mean, unfortunately, you've always voted Labour as well, which doesn't help you when it comes to ingratiating yourself.
Hold up, Mark. I'm not going to go all Battle of Bosworth on you. No, yes, we've always voted Labour as well. No, before that, we were Liberal. We were a very traditional Liberal area.
I don't think it was a case of having them on their knees. I think it was a case of having them encircled. One built a certain sort of ring of castles, didn't one? To kind of keep them in check.
Yeah, they call it the Iron Ring, don't they?
That may well be.
Yeah, it's why Wales has more castles per capita than any other place in the world. For your tourism plug.
I
had no idea. Very, very fascinating. I have been to.
Is it Carnarvon Castle that's kind of can be supplied by the sea?
A lot of castles can. Carnarvon Castle can. There's also Pembroke Castle, which is very good as well.
So I believe, I think it might have been Carnarvon, I'm not sure, but there was that siege where the Welsh laid siege, the English just supplied the castle by sea.
Yeah, it probably was Carnarvon, which was the main castle for the English.
Yes, it's somewhat disheartening if you're out there and you're trying to starve them out and then they just come in by ship.
We're never the smartest people.
To be fair, at least you're not as stupid as the Irish. The only nation on earth to have a famine while surrounded by fish.
Go on, you take that from me.
I ain't saying nothing.
One of my best mates is Irish, and he fucking hates that joke.
Fish being somewhat topical at the moment.
The new Brexit.
Is it? Do take us on to current affairs, British? Do tell.
Well, I mean, at the moment there is somewhat of a logjam over fishing rights in British waters, because the EU has taken it to be a condition for a trade deal that EU fishermen should still be able to access British waters, even though Britain has left the EU.
Yeah.
And of course, Britain is kind of pointing out to them that they don't seem to include that as part of the conditions for any other trade deals, say with Canada or Japan.
Yeah.
So basically, trade deals are supposed to be about you buy our stuff and, we buy your stuff. As in, what kind of things can we sell hither and thither without trade barriers?
Let me put it this way, British. Fucking trade. Trade, not access. Like, that's a completely separate issue.
Given that fish is a resource, this is effectively the same thing as saying, oh, well, yes, and we also want access to your mining.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody in their right mind would say that. So it's a very strange one. I mean, one can see why the Europeans are trying this on, because the British just happen to have the best fishing grounds. But nonetheless, yes, it is one of those where you can see the British are digging in their heels going, I'm sorry, but this is really an area of sovereignty and you can't tie this to trade.
We do not need another cod or scallop wars, especially with the fucking French. who have decided to, like, basically go above and beyond and ram fishing vessels and whatnot, especially when we've got the bloody immigration crisis going on.
Well,
and they're escorting them across.
I can see scenarios coming up where the French fishermen, invade British waters to fish illegally, and they are escorted at the same time by 5 dinghies full of migrants.
Be clear.
So that when the border force vessel turns up, they're looking at this going, okay, whom do we police here?
At what point do we start mining the English Channel? That's what I'm saying. Like, come on. Like, sea mines need to make a return. That's all I'm going on.
But
it's very
maybe,
clear.
Of course, this would be appealing to me. What we need is a long sea fence.
That's an interesting idea.
The Britisher embraces the fence for the first time.
Bring the wall.
Just at the point at which the French and English halves of the Channel Tunnel intersect. Just a massive cast-iron fence.
What we need is the French to give us back Normandy and Calais, and then we can build a giant wall around Normandy and Calais.
Just to make up for the Norman invasion. We could claim it's reparations. That's what it is.
You know, Napoleonic War reparations.
Oh god, I've got to catch up with the super chats, guys. We got to keep them up. Mr. Gently Benevolent says, Mr. Britisher, did you drink your whiskey from a Britisher mug? Hashtag floor gang. Taffy has done well with his channel.
No, of course I did not drink it from a Britisher mug. I would never do such a thing.
It's approved for tea only, right?
Precisely, yes.
There you go. How much is a Britisher mug, actually, out of curiosity?
Hang on. You do ask the impossible question, don't you?
The impossible question of you knowing what the price of your own merch is.
£12.49.
£12.49. I thoroughly recommend, if you're not going to buy a Fake Accents shirt, which obviously I would prefer that you buy first, link is in the description and on screen. If you're not going to buy a Fake Accents mug and you really have a soft spot for the British shirt, go buy that mug. Go buy him a tea mug and put tea in it, and if you're feeling particularly rebellious, put coffee or some kind of degenerate whiskey in it, and then send him a picture on Twitter, because I know how much he absolutely loves to receive.
It's all Photoshop. None of it's real.
None of it's real. Shocking.
Hot chocolate is acceptable.
No.
Yes. People, by the way,
hot chocolate is not acceptable.
People in the chat saying, how much is it? Like it being like £12.50. Like the usual price for this kind of merch is apparently like £17 or £18. The Britisher is
yes, I did reduce it. Yes,
the Britisher is doing you a massive favour here. Like, take it while it's reduced. Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth your money.
A Foundations podcast mug is £10.50.
Oh well, there you go.
Shut the fuck up. We do not support the Foundations podcast on this. Your bloody architecture stream will have to stand on its own 2 legs. Just joking. Support the Foundations.
Thank you.
Support the Foundations architecture stream.
We had a very good stream with the Britisher.
Yes, I believe there was a certain Roman stream I frequented. Yes.
Yes, it was. I gotta say, I enjoyed that thoroughly. Anyway.
Chat is saying, can I use the Britisher mug for coffee? Britisher,
no,
I feel you have to use.
Absolutely not.
Give a stern response here, man. Come on.
It would be an offence against the laws of nature. This is a precision-engineered drinking vessel for tea.
The second that you put down a single grain of instant coffee in that mug, the Britisher will hunt you down like the dog that you are and put you down in front of your family. It's as simple as that. I don't make the rules. I simply think them up and write them down.
See, Brett, what you need to do is make a new advert where someone puts a top of a bit of instant coffee in the mug, and it just starts flashing red.
Bursts into flames.
and it just goes, warning, Britisher shall be with you shortly. Warning.
I just remembered when you said, I don't make the rules, I just write them down. What is it Mackay says in Porridge? You know, he's the chief warden, isn't he?
Oh, God, that's taking me back.
You don't, basically, so the rules are quite simple. There are only 2 rules. 1, you don't write on the walls, and 2, you obey all the rules.
Very good, very good. George donated £5. Thank you so much, George. It says, I heard Sargon was streaming now. Anyone know where I might find it? Tar. I don't know, man. Like, I'm torn. At the one point, I'm grateful to George for supporting the stream with his donation. On the other, he's subversive. He's sending people away to watch Sargon.
Though anybody would go and watch my protege when they basically could be listening to us. I mean, come off it. How ridiculous is that thought?
All I can say, really, is that obviously I got over 30% of the vote between who was better on AA's stream, Sargon or myself. So it's like... in fact, let me see how that poll's doing.
I'm checking right now for you. You are currently at 35%.
35.7% of people prefer me to Sargon of Akkad on AA's unpopular opinions. So
Shinobi drop behind Charlemagne.
Tis what tis.
I'm also at 35% against John D, by the way. It's you know.
And I'm at 35% against Binary.
No one cares. No one cares about you and your tiny little spats. I'm fighting someone with 900,000 subscribers. You know, what can you do?
I'm fighting someone with none. I mean, for fuck's sake.
I am as well fighting somebody with none.
Strong guys, strong. But yes, do let us know in chat what your opinion is. Is it NSO versus Sargon? Who's the winner? Is it Owine versus who is it?
John D.
John D. Who do you prefer?
When I hear John D, all I think is tractors. But anyway, that's just me.
Tailed Feature or Binary Surfer? Let me know. Send it a super chat if you're that way inclined. Do appreciate it. But thanks, George. Mad Beast Yeti says the best version of Arthur was that of Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. I do enjoy the Holy Grail, but I do also I have a soft spot for the more serious Arthur, the more the ballads and the more mythos related, especially with everything to do with Avalon. I'm a sucker for a good fantasy, and it's like the quintessential British fantasy. As much as Sargon would like to pretend it's Robin Hood, King Arthur.
Really?
I mean, come on.
Who would think it's Robin Hood? He's not even the best. It's not. There's a Welsh version of Robin Hood which is far better.
Is there?
There is. He's called Tum Shun. He's called Tum Shun Catti. Now, no one's gonna ever be able to pronounce that.
Tum Shun Catti.
Tum Shun Catti. He used to go. He used to.
A reference to the tone of the story.
No. He's what he was. He lived in the mountains in Brecon, right in the Brecon Beacons, and the Welsh hinterlands there. And what he used to do, he was a Protestant, and he used to go around robbing Catholics in English, and giving it to the Protestant Welsh in the land.
I like it how you say he went around robbing Catholics and English. So when it came to the Welsh, he made a distinction between Protestant and Catholic. Indeed. Whereas when it came to the English, he just basically robbed the English.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, a lot of Welsh stories usually revolve around something to do with the English can't be having this, you know? I imagine it's the same in Scotland. And what he would do, what's cool about Tum Shun Catti, right, is that he used to have a pet buzzard that would help him find his prey, and he'd also wear an eagle's head, kind of head as a hat, and live in a cave. Yep.
So this is a chap who lives in a cave and wears a bird's head on his head.
Yes, the Welsh have a really weird.
I think we'll stick with Robin Hood, to be honest.
Because you're
not selling this to me.
No, I'm really not. Am I? I was the Welsh have a really weird problem of putting animals on their heads. The Welsh.
Singing seems to be their strength rather than the telling of tales.
You have a really funny idea of what constitutes better, Owine? That's what I'm saying?
Anything Welsh, dude. There's the Welsh Christmas traditions to put a horse skull on your head.
Oh yes, and sort of prance around the villages and knock on doors.
But this is only since they saw The Godfather.
It's not the expectation. It's not the expectation with this particular tradition that you will deny them.
You have to deny them entry
at least 3 times. Otherwise, you have to feed them.
Yep, it is. I'll post it in the stream chat so you can see what goes around. It still happens in certain areas. It is a rather terrifying thing when it comes to the door, and you have to deny it. Otherwise, they have to come into the house and they like prance about in the house, and you have to feed them.
So, for those people who don't know, it's effectively taking a horse skull, dressing it up in pretty colours, and a kind of a white sheet cloak, wearing that on the top of one person's head, and then they come in and they sing a particular song about wanting to be let in food, and the expectation is that you turn away the evil spirit. Otherwise, you have to feed them in order to placate them and have them move on.
Yes, I'm a bit more worried regarding your description, because Owine's description seemed to just centre on there being a horse's head.
I'm sorry, but that's the thing that draws your attention, really.
Whereas you're the one who basically specified sheets. And I like the description of, people turning up outside someone's house dressed in sheets. And you just sort of wonder, well, are these particularly immigrant homes?
Sorry.
Like, who knows? Like, the Welsh were actually the precursor to the KKK. Who knew?
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
Anyway, I apologise.
You should apologise for your barbarian rituals.
Paganism. Look, the Scots have their own weird ones.
Yeah, I know, but the Scots are scarier than the Welsh. You sound too jovial.
Are the Scots scarier? I don't know.
I mean, they managed to lobby for their own devolved parliament. What the fuck has the Welsh managed to do? The Welsh Assembly? The Welsh Assembly? Really?
Yeah, dude, like that was a very I could do a whole thing about that. That was a very dubious vote. It was 0.3% in the vote that swung it, and there were 0.36% votes discarded.
Shocking.
And only 50% of people turned out. Just saying.
Look, I'm gonna move on. On. Anaquin Cringewalker says you might want to check Twitter trends with regards to the United Nations. The United Nations. Let me see.
I can't see anything in the UN here.
Let me have a look. United Nations. Oh God. The COVID-19 pandemic is demonstrating what we all know. Millennia of patriarchy has resulted in a male-dominated world with a male-dominated culture which damages everyone: women, men, girls, and boys. This is the time to rebuild more equal, inclusive, and resilient societies.
The UNSR.
What the?
Sorry, where are you looking at this?
Fuck? This is all I did was search United Nations on Twitter, and the @UN official Twitter account has put this as of 2:06 this afternoon. And they are getting fairly well, ratioed, but we'll see. Like 6k retweets to 1.6k likes.
I want to say that millennia of patriarchal society has meant that the plague is now extinct, and we are living in the most prosperous era ever in human history.
Let me get this up for people who can see it. Yep, there we go. This is a quote from Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN. He has 1 million followers. Obviously, the UN account has 13 million followers. Absolutely unreal. Like, again, demonstrating why the UN shouldn't exist. Just absolutely insane. This is one of the reasons, like, Trump has obviously banned social justice courses in the past sort of 48 hours. What do you make of that, by the way, Britisher? I assume you commented on it on the week.
Yes, I did. I was very, very popular, as you can imagine, because whenever you say anything even mildly critical about Trump, some people react, strangely enough. I just kind of wondered how, the God Emperor, the based president, has been funding critical race theory for 4 years, and he's only just realised.
Yeah. I can understand. Yes, I understand you got some hate from Trump supporters claiming.
Well, it's not necessarily hate, but it's just remarkable that you will then kind of be accused of Trump derangement syndrome when in the very same video you actually are saying that you would actually prefer him to win. So I am the one person who has Trump derangement syndrome, but actually wants him to win the election.
See, British is just doing the eternal fence sitting again, isn't he? He's balancing one or the other.
Look, as I've pulled,
the British giveth and he taketh away.
as I've pulled up here, I think Baizuo, which is the Chinese term, just sums up the UN perfectly.
Baizuo.
Baizuo.
No, it's Zuo, isn't it? That's how you say it.
I don't know. It says pronounced Baizuo. So this what it is. A Chinese epithet meaning naive, Western-educated person advocating for peace and equality only to satisfy their own feelings of moral superiority. A Baizuo only cares about topics such as immigration, minorities, LGBT, and the environment. Obsessed with political correctness to the extent they import Islamic values for the sake of multiculturalism. The Chinese see Baizuo as ignorant, arrogant Westerners who pity the rest of the world and think they are the saviors. And as you can see, this person with white men are the terrorists on their t-shirt. Absolutely accurate. The UN should be defunded. Although, saying that, I am of the bizarre opinion that at least the UN Security Council should probably be maintained, because if the UN goes under, such a body would also exist, and it's one of the only reasons I have for supporting Trident, right? I don't think Trident is a particularly effective deterrent, but it provides certain political advantages, including a permanent seat, I should say, on the UN Security Council. So, keep that around. I'm happy for that. If it changes its name, whatever. But I'm not a fan of particularly dissolving that.
Trident's very important. It's like you said, it maintains our seat upon the Security Council. It also brings a lot of jobs to Scotland. Very important there. And indeed, Oh, my dog just ran in 2 seconds.
But yeah, when it comes to the UN saying this sort of thing, I'm going to tie this into probably what was it? Someone's tied in the APA, the American Psychological Association, has made a statement as well, calling for true systemic change in US culture. The association is working to dismantle institutional racism over the long term, including within itself and psychology. Again, it's a bullshit statement. These organizations are over 99%, at least on paper, over 95% left-wing, or over 95%, left-leaning. So if they were capable of dismantling institutional racism, they would already have achieved it. And the idea that they're institutionally racist just for upholding Western meritocratic values is utter bullshit. I'm hoping to make a video on this in the next couple of days, generally, anyway. But, this all sounds very, very virtual signal-y. Don't know about you guys. Talk to me. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Attention.
Well, when it comes to it, I'm not even sure if it's virtue signaling anymore, or if it's just basically. Some people have sort of said this is kind of cultish behavior, and it's kind of almost like operating like a creed. I'm more sort of drawn to the idea of it being sort of everybody being terrified of the mob, or at least there is some element of fear. Do you remember that there's that famous clip of Stalin turning up at the theatre and everybody gets up and applauds ferociously? And then the applause just goes on and on and on and on. And Stalin has this wicked smile about him, just standing there. And he knows full well that they can't stop applauding. Because if they stop applauding, the first people to stop applauding will be the ones later pointed out as the ones who stopped applauding. And
I disagree. I think that the culture of acceptance of these left-wing views is now so entrenched that it's less about wanting to make a statement and more about the egos of those involved. So the people involved have this ego where they have a chip on their shoulder where they want to change the world. They're also surrounded by people who claim, on the face of it, to be supportive of people who want to make a positive change, especially if it's for minorities, oppressed groups, or anything above. And anyone who's too scared to speak out is not speaking, but the majority of the executives who think that they're doing a good job are, they're behind this, and they're already saying that. So this is not anything where there's any pushback or any real fear. There's a lot of really depressed, primarily millennials and some Gen Xers and a little bit before that as well, who are who are saying we want to make a difference, but there's not really a moment to make a difference, and everything that we're doing, despite the fact that we're claiming we're making a difference, isn't really doing that much, and it's generating an entire generation of depressed people who also don't know how to relate to one another and only have social media for the experience of things like the other sex, for instance. And it's very... It's kind of like it's on shaky ground.
Well, you see,
but I don't think that there's fear. I think that
I understand this idea of this sort of heartfelt naivete of wanting to change the world, and I can see that kind of running riot with youngsters in the universities. But I don't believe it's the youngsters in the universities who run the American Psychological Association.
It is. The APA is run almost entirely by Marxists.
Oh yes, that may be Marxists or whatever, but I don't think they will be, 19 and 20-year-olds.
No, but trust me when I say that the people, like one of my lecturers, the guy who did my brain and behavior module in my first year of university, he is a chap who has worked his entire life within the academic system. He told me quite proudly on the first day that I was there that some people consider the academic circles to be disconnected from reality, and he was very comfortable with that. He's worked most of his career with pigeons and trying to work out what they do, and he considers both his parents and his children to be bigots, and that is his entire worldview. And these are the kinds of people, the people who have been 19 and 20 and then have never managed to develop their thinking beyond that because they've been in an echo chamber their entire careers.
It's the I know enough already. I don't need to know anymore.
Effectively, yes. And anyone who presents a dissenting opinion is a bigot, and that purely reinforces my existing opinions. And that's that.
My lecturer for my history lecture, look, other than his political stuff, fine guy, nice guy. But he was an avowed communist. Who he came out as one in the lecture.
The chat is saying, like Edward Cullen here is saying, yes, and so it's called demoralization for a reason. He's referencing, of course, the Yuri Bezmenov lectures from the 1980s about what happened with the US. Yuri Bezmenov's position is really interesting because, unlike one of his principal examples, which is Nicaragua, where after a certain period, after the period of demoralization, and then effectively radicalization afterwards, they rolled the tanks in and rounded up the people who were quote, problematic and shot them in one night. The Soviet Union obviously disbanded in 1991. Was it 1991?
It's 1990.
Yeah, and so what you effectively have is the entire process up to the point of the tanks rolling in, and then no tanks to roll in. So we're kind of in unprecedented territory when it comes to the Yuri Bezmenov experiment, where we were demoralized and then radicalized and then kind of left to our own devices, and no one really knows where it's going to go. Least of all Yuri Bezmenov, because there's no architect to kind of then step in and restore order. So I'm really curious to see how the US and UK goes, and
I think there'll be something brand new coming out of this.
Yeah, and
I still I know this is never the popular line to take, but I'm still always very skeptical when it comes to Yuri Bezmenov.
Oh yeah.
Well, put it like this: here is the former KGB guy who is now in the West. And that basically means he is now the CIA guy, telling us how the other side have an evil plot. Do you understand what I mean? So
I think
one may later then sort of say, oh, well, you see, these things coincide. So he was right all along. Or you can say that, hang on a moment, was this actually an Easterner telling you about the plan of Eastern propaganda, or was this actually an Easterner who had come to the West and was now under the auspices of the CIA telling you what the CIA wants you to think that the East is doing? Do you understand what I mean?
I understand what you mean, but I think it's very important to take everything that he says with the benefit of hindsight. And obviously taking that into account. I think it's unequivocal that various predictions and statements that he's made have been both accurate and tested by the auspices of time. Which is not to say that which is not to say that everything has been accurate. I think that the process of demoralization and his talk about how long it takes to change the perspective of a nation is very accurate. Whether or not the nation has been changed in the manner in which he has explicitly predicted is something for people to actually, consider and discuss.
One way I heard it described as what Beresmoth did. He did a very good diagnostic of how a nation falls and collapses. But the question is whether or not there were actually subversive elements that were all organized in this. Whether this was an organized push or not, which I don't think it was. I think it's a kind of I think there's an idea that's gotten into people's heads, and people just emulate each other when doing it. So it's kind of almost like a hive mentality, which kind of drove the kind of current state of affairs that we're in, rather than a organized push.
Discuss this between yourselves. I will be right back. But go on, Britisher.
I think what you sort of mean, Owain, is that certain things can have a dynamic all of their own.
Yeah.
That certain things can occur without there being a guiding hand.
Of course,
and there doesn't need to be the guiding hand behind the Iron Curtain who started it all, and then the Iron Curtain fell, but the project couldn't be stopped and it rolled away. No, these things can actually happen without there being some evil mastermind behind some curtain who has set it rolling.
Yeah, an idea in itself has its own life, and it'll continue until eventually that idea is put down with another idea.
But as I say, it can spring to life without there needing to be someone who deliberately implants it with a particular intention.
Yeah, because back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we thought we had dealt with this form of socialism, with this form of kind of this form of extremism. I think we felt that we dealt with it in the 80s, especially in the West, with the fall of the Soviet Union. I think that was it. They thought, all right, communism's done, it's gone, in that sense. because they thought at that time, obviously, they thought the Thatcher doctrine of the China will become democratic purely because it'll become capitalist. That has failed. That is not true. It will not become.
Again, that was a complete. That was again a completely doctrinal view of things, whereby things happen this way because they do, and well, yes, one needed a rather stark wake-up call for that. I mean, that was the what was it called? Francis Fukuyama, The End of History.
Yes.
When he basically came up with this completely nonsensical, highfalutin theory, whereby liberal democracy was effectively the pinnacle of history. It could not evolve any further. It was what it was. So basically, here was somebody saying that any ideas he did not know of yet, because nobody had thought of them yet, didn't exist and couldn't possibly exist because nobody could go any further. So, Muhammad is the last prophet, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And therefore, whoever would be exposed to this furthest evolved to perfection system, which was the American system, and which, funnily enough, the neocons in America quite liked to hear, would not be able to resist and would simply succumb to it. And then they went into Iraq, and for some reason the Iraqis didn't succumb to it. And they couldn't explain it to themselves for some time, until eventually, to his credit, Francis Fukuyama said, okay, yeah, it's hokum.
Yeah, I think the best way I feel to describe is Molyneux describes it as there's no magic soil. That you can't simply change the culture of peoples who have lived in a certain manner for thousands of years to liberal democracy.
Yeah. And
the Britisher embraces fascism.
Are you going all demon again on us?
Oh, for goodness sake! The Britisher embraces fascism wholeheartedly. That's all I'm saying.
So when it comes to the Chinese, of course, there was, of course, this doctrinal view, capitalism. Capitalism is marvelous. Communism is bad. Capitalism is marvelous. We expose them to capitalism, and Western civilization will just sprout forth.
Yeah,
seems legit.
I think what's interesting about the Chinese, especially in the modern day, is that they've kind of reverted.
Don't think we're broadcasting.
Yeah,
we are reconnection successful. Hopefully, all right for the time being. Do tell me what's going on.
Oh, hang on. I think we are back broadcasting.
That is the hope, yes. Seem to be sort of semi-successfully broadcasting. Do apologise to everyone involved with regards to that. Tis what tis. But, yeah.
You're going all Trump on us there, are you?
I'm going all
is what it is.
Tis what tis. Not entirely sure what's going on there, but hopefully we are not losing too many frames live-wise.
I think we've lost it again.
Oh, god damn it. You are back to appreciate your audience.
We just lost you for a bit there, Mark.
Ah, god. What the fuck is going on? I do not appreciate having massive connection issues, if I'm honest. This is the third week in a row as well that this has happened. Stream is out again. Yeah, chat's telling me, and my moderators are telling me, severe stream issues. God, not much I can do about this.
I won't ask Not So Obvious, because he's obviously been too busy drinking. But Owain, did you by any chance watch my half-hour history orgy?
I haven't quite got the chance yet, Britt. I've been very busy today, so...
Because
not entirely sure what's going on. Apparently we have reconnected successfully. We are still dropping frames though, so I'm expecting that it'll go down in a second. But we were doing so well. What's going on? We were doing so well. I don't understand. I leave the room for 2 seconds and all of a sudden we have connection issues. Unfortunately,
I think we're back. I think we're back up now.
Back
up. Chat's telling me we're back up. All right, I'm gonna whiz through super chats so that we don't miss them as we go along. Dylan98 says, what are your thoughts on Douglas Murray and PH? What's PH? Off the top of your head, do you know?
I'm somewhat stumped there.
I've been listening.
I'm just
some
on
of this stuff because he's been on his tour again for his re-release of Madness of Crowds.
Yeah, let me.
Yes, but I don't know what PH stands for.
Let me see. Intervention PH versus Douglas Murray, but that's 2014.
I watched his Nigel Farage interview, which was interesting.
I unfortunately I haven't seen.
Is it Hitchens?
Peter Hitchens, maybe. Let me have a look. Possibly a good one. Nothing that I can see past 2019, though. So we appear to be missing that. I've never met a Brit with a consistent internet connection. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with this. I deeply apologise. Yeah, I was just saying yours is fine. Although, as I understand it, seemingly successfully to reset my internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this appears to have worked. What has happened to Tailed Feature?
He's, I think
he sort of bowed out gracefully. I think he was losing the will to live.
Well, in fairness to Tailed, all right. Let me see what we've got going on here. Yes, all right. So, what were your thoughts on Douglas Murray?
Tired.
What were your thoughts on Douglas Murray and Peter Hitchens? But the only thing that I can find with regards to Peter Hitchens is from the 25th of April, which is I love my fellow hacks even if I disagree with them, and then including Peter Hitchens in that. But I can't see any recent debates with him, and I've not been keeping up, unfortunately. So we'll have to take it as is.
All I know is that I like Douglas Murray, but I'm not a great fan of Peter Hitchens.
I am a great fan of both, even if I disagree with Mr. Hitchens.
I like Douglas Murray a lot. Hitchens is fine.
So there we go. Fair enough. We are back for now. Do apologise to chat. We will be carrying on as we go. Dylan98 says, what are your thoughts on Douglas Murray and PH? We don't really have any, unfortunately. We're missing a little bit of context there or any recent conversations that they've had. Mad BCSE says, if another COD war happened, do you think the US would be on the UK side this time? I think certainly if we have got through the transition period, that one would expect that they would be.
And Trump's in charge, I guess.
And Trump is in charge, and presumably will be in charge for the foreseeable future, for at least the next 4 years, so that sort of thing. Speaking of which, how do you feel about that, Bridger? Do you think Trump will win?
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not entirely sure either.
I would like to be sure about it, and I was sure about it. When the economy was just absolutely steaming along, it looked as if he had it absolutely in the bag. And then, of course, things went south rather dramatically. And, the polls, everybody is doubting the polls. And I've got my doubts about the polls. But at the same time, is one dismissing the polls because one has one's doubts about their methodology, or is one dismissing the polls because they don't give one the result one wants to hear? Because the moment a poll comes out and says, "Oh, Trump is in the lead," they immediately embrace it. And
I mean, I was sitting there, I was all ready and raring to go with my with 5-4, I think it was, in the betting, and ready to put most of my student loan on the line and put £1,000 or whatever on Trump to win. And now I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, the amount of cucking that's been going on, the amount of disaffection, the slim margin relatively that he won by before. I don't know whether or not he's going to have a landslide in the same way that Boris did over here. Which is what everyone's comparing it to.
I'm more concerned that due to the virus stuff, I think America. I'm not one for too much conspiracy, but I don't. I'm not confident that there won't be rigging going on.
Well, they went for the two things to look out for is one statistic which says they went from 2.6% unemployment, which was the lowest in recent history, to 14.7%, which is obviously pretty high, and some stupid amount of jobs which have been lost. Trump is also kind of flailing compared to the team around Biden. And as much as I'd love Trump to win, I just don't know whether or not the propaganda machine and the mixture of Biden's team and the postal vote potential, which is going to actually have an effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm. Well, obviously they know something's awry because they've gone back down to the base tactics of just saying Trump hates said group.
Yeah.
They've defaulted again, so they obviously know that something's not working, and they know there's something right because the polls, as we know, are done as yes, Minister would tell us. Polls are there to reaffirm an argument rather than to actually present an actual accurate breakdown, and
I would like to think that Trump's got it in a bag, but I don't have enough to put $1,000 on it.
We don't think that because that means complacency. But
indeed, and Architect of Fate is telling me in the chat that Trump's polling is up now that they're back down to 8% unemployment even during lockdown, which I think is obviously good moves. But whether or not, as I say, the propaganda machine manages to, Trump is guilty of many things with regards to his campaign, like shameless merchandising and interestingly, giving up certain strongholds in favor of others.
Yeah, the Electoral College seems pretty heavy in Trump's favor. That's the truth. But the thing is, Texas may be in play now.
And obviously, I think most people would be willing to give Trump another chance, especially given his current record and the people who he's actually done right by, but whether or not he's done right by enough people.
What was that here? Georgia? I heard somewhere Georgia maybe in play, and that's a lot of Electoral College seats.
I don't think, obviously, that he's done well with regards to the BLM stuff. Like, most of the people who support BLM are obviously never voting Trump.
It's a rock and a hard place.
Well, exactly, but it's a question of how many people those people manage to convince, because they were never voting Trump anyway, but they might swing people on the fence.
I would definitely take the advice from the devil on who possibly could win the American election. So I think, Orion, we have to defer here to this gentleman's greater knowledge.
Indeed.
Because otherwise we will be burned in the fiery pit of eternity.
It's the ghost of Barry White.
Yeah, either that or the Beelzebub himself. I'm just wondering whether he's got the hint yet.
He has. I think he has clearly got the hint. No, it's wonderful. I quite enjoy when you go deep voice. I'm just waiting for you to break into song.
I'm very sorry to
Louis Armstrong. There we go.
Chat and my other guests. But yeah, that's the thoughts on the election now.
Well, I would put it like this: you've got various various variables, if I can put it like that, which are very difficult to call. So we know the whole virus thing has an effect electorally. We obviously know that unemployment has an effect electorally, and that goes against Trump. But meanwhile, yes, no, I do believe it goes against Trump. Meanwhile, you've got people trying to burn down city centres. And again, you're looking at that going, well, that surely can't play too well. But clearly that plays the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you wouldn't have these uncertainties that stand against Trump, and you would a decent economy, and you would have the other side having rioters out there, which I'm just beginning to wonder whether they've lost control of this completely. As in, can they in any way call them to a halt, or have they slipped the leash and now they're just gone, if you know what I mean. But in any way, I feel if it were just that, then it would be Trump landslide territory.
Mm-hmm.
But because you've got the other thing, where you're sort of wondering, hang on a moment, how much of a lead technically would he have if you think how close it was last time round? If you then think that there was kind of third parties that hoovered up some votes, which in this polarized situation will not occur. So they will split two ways. The Greens won't get any votes this time. Now, where do all those votes go that went to the Greens? So that's why you sort of think, even if you consider it as it was last time round, it would more than likely be to his disadvantage. Then you throw in these kind of, rather difficult to reckon sort of jokers into the pack. And yes, that's where I just don't feel certain at all. I mean, I would love to have the certainty of those people who just proclaim, oh, it's going to be a landslide.
Yeah.
And I really did think that he had it absolutely sewn up when things were hoovering along, and he had the lowest unemployment in 50 years. He had the lowest black unemployment on record. He had the lowest youth unemployment on record. It was every single statistic was in his favor. And in that case, you just can't beat the incumbent.
Yeah.
And then that just evaporated overnight, pretty much, And now it's just an entirely different ballgame. And that's why I'm sort of scratching my head going, yes, we know the polls were all wrong last time round. Now, are they all just using the polls as a propaganda tool? Or are these actually pollsters who realize they got it all completely wrong last time and they're trying to amend their methodology to reflect something more accurate, and it's nonetheless not coming out in Trump's favor?
The uncertainty is a problem,
yeah. The one thing that I think many sort of on our side of the argument are hoping for is that Biden comes unstuck in the debates.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a real problem that he could come completely a cropper.
Well, I don't know if he could actually do well in debates.
Well, I don't know. This is just it. I think when you sort of see how he turns up at times, there are days in which he really looks very doddery and he's struggling. There are other days when you feel, hang on a moment, he sounds all right. So I think he has good days and he has bad days.
Yeah,
now,
but even on his,
if he has a good day, and he gets, say, if he has a good day, and he gets a lot of CNN protection, which he more than likely would on a CNN debate, for example, I think he could get through without all too much trouble.
I don't think he could defend against, but at least I don't sniff kids, right? Like on the debate floor. Come
on. I don't know whether that necessarily works or whatever, given particularly that they either side knows that the other side has prepared comebacks for these things. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily that easy a task. I don't sniff kids. Well, yes, but I'm not walking around grabbing people by the pussy,
Do you think that they'll be more prepared for that this time around, given that it seemed to completely knock Hillary for 6?
I think Hillary was just hopeless at that sort of thing. And I think whatever you think of Biden, he is better at that sort of political knockabout. The one thing I always like to feel as the example with Hillary Clinton is during her campaign, I think it was actually still in the, what do they call it? When you're doing sort of the pre-campaign, you're trying to win the Democrat nomination rather than actually
the primaries.
Yes.
Yeah, the primaries.
And they in some states they have sort of state fairs and whatever, and it's a tradition that either the Republican or the Democrat candidate goes to this particular fair. And there was this fair that always is held in this particular state, and Hillary Clinton turns up as the candidate, as you would expect her to do. And they approach this sausage stand, and there is some guy grilling sausages. And she stands there and looks at him like a robot.
Yeah.
And up steps Bill Clinton, one of the smoothest campaigners I've ever seen in my life, and he immediately goes into presidential campaign mode.
Yeah.
And you can't hear what he is saying, but you can just see him gesticulating at these sausages and within 30 seconds he has a bun in one hand and a sausage in the other, and he's munching on this sausage, and it's one of the most joyous experiences in his entire life. Meanwhile, the actual candidate, Hillary Clinton, has since turned by 90 degrees and walked off stage.
I just love the the statement you just made there about Bill Clinton munching sausage. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes,
I appreciate you're making a serious point.
You can just see he should have been the presidential candidate, and I mean that's why he won when he was the presidential candidate. Whereas she was completely hopeless. She was completely out of her depth, and that's why when you stuck her together with Donald Trump, she had nothing. There was just nothing there. Whereas with Joe Biden, I feel it's 10 years too late for Joe Biden. I mean, he always had he always had problems. I mean, particularly with nicking other people's speeches. But as such, he was perfectly lucid. He could do the political knockabout. Now I'm not sure because he just looks as if he's past it. He's too old.
I personally, as chat is echoing, I think he's scared, or certainly his campaign team is scared of a debate.
The team are scared of exposing him to any sort of pressure. That's why they're telling everybody to go and they miss the fireworks if they don't run. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
And also, there's never any questions at any press conference, and they're keeping him in this basement. They're keeping him in the Fuhrer bunker
as much as they can. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that they are nervous, and you can see why they're nervous. But I mean, with the Democratic, I pointed it out at the time on the week that was when it came to the Democratic convention, Biden was perfectly good. Frankly, his speech in its delivery was more than likely better delivered than that of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So on a good day, he can do this stuff.
But they need to have him on a good day.
The thing is, on a bad day, and just this week, in the week that was, I showed him on a bad day. And, you could see he got lost. He was struggling to remember where the sentence had started, and some little angelic voice in his ear must have told him, where the thread was. And that's his problem. Now, the issue I see is kind of twofold. One, yes, Trump could completely crash and burn. The other problem is that if the right makes the mistake of constantly upping the ante on, how totally doddery Biden is, and he's a drooling mess.
They'll look like they're punching down.
And then, no, what happens to those people who are the undecideds in the middle, who then see Biden and he actually copes? Whose credibility is then damaged? And therefore, my advice is simply, let Biden bury his own grave. Don't try to constantly emphasize something which eventually can come and bite you. Does that make sense?
If Biden does win, as Colin P. Smith is saying in chat, how long will he last before Kamala takes over for one reason or another?
Well, yes. I mean,
50, isn't it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
An Architect of Fate also points out that Biden's DNC speech was plagiarized from his own work from a few years prior. So, again, it's possible that his delivery on that was good because he'd done it before.
Well, it's well possible, but the thing is, it was well delivered. Whatever you think of Trump, Trump isn't a particularly good speaker.
I mean, I've seen comparisons between him and Obama, for instance, about the difference between the killing of Osama bin Laden and whoever it was that Trump took out on his watch. And
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, was it?
Yeah, and it's not. It's not fun to watch if you're a Trump fan.
I always like to see every president as a reaction to the previous president. So we had George Bush Jr. And let's face it, George Bush Jr. was, he got misunderestimated a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think some people try to sort of say, "Oh, he was playing game." That no, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. It truly amazes me that George Bush Jr. was elected.
Then comes Obama, who is the deliberate choice in reaction to George Bush Jr. That now we want someone who actually sounds the part. Thank you very much. But then, yes, you get the chap who sounds the part, but then also is, as woke as they come. And then you get the reaction, which is then Trump, who is kind of the antidote to the woke, or at least people interpret him to be that.
Yeah.
And the question now is, are we about to see the reaction to Trump, or is this still the continuation of Trump, and then comes the reaction to it in the next presidency?
Personally, I think that the reaction, this will be the continuation of Trump. I'm going to be deeply black-pilled, if otherwise. But, I'm obviously open to the possibility. But I think definitely it's, for me, I feel like Trump's going to get another 4 years. He's going to do what he's going to do, and then we'll see.
There was one horror scenario that I read somewhere. I forget where I read it. But there was some chap, I believe he was some kind of pollster figure, I might be mistaken. And he said there is the possibility that the worst of all worlds happens. And that is that, with all this postal voting.
Yeah.
Postal votes take time to count.
Yeah.
And they need, time to come in and then count. And so it's very doubtful that the postal votes would be counted on the day of the election.
Yeah.
And he said the problem is, which are the votes that are going to be the postal votes? It's going to be the Democrats. Whereas the Republicans are going to be the people who vote in person, because they're the ones who are against the postal votes and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he said there is the possibility that you could end up with Trump triumphantly in the lead on the night of the election. And then 3 days later or so, people get told, "Oh, by the way, Biden won. We've counted all the postal votes now."
See, that's where the problem comes in. Then I think Trump would have an argument not to vacate after that point. I genuinely do.
That basically what he, the sort of message in the whole thing is that even if it's honest, forget electoral rigging. Just assume for a moment it's honest. Would the Republicans believe it's honest?
I said, who are you going to convince that it's honest? You can't. You've literally you've been telling lies 4 years straight, and now eventually you're going to tell possibly a truth, maybe, who knows? And no one's going to believe you. You're the boy who cried wolf.
You then have got that situation where you really have the possibility of an absolute constitutional crisis, and a constitutional crisis far worse than that between Al Gore and George W. Bush. That was a constitutional crisis where they were counting hanging chads and all that nonsense, and eventually it ended up in the Supreme Court. But in this case, you would have just the credibility of the entire process completely undermined. So even if the result is an accurate one, how on earth would you convince the losing side that looks as though it's the winner on election night that, oh, by the way, no, it's different now?
Are you basically bringing up the fact the Brexit vote, for instance, that the Remainers are utterly convinced that they've won the popular vote?
Yes. Well, I would say the only way out of this in a reasonable manner, there's going to be a lot of, there'd be a lot of rioting, etc. Whatever happens, in this instance, would be a Supreme Court decision, which then the if needs be, the army would uphold. The military would uphold.
Well, yes, but this is the question. I mean, what sort of question would you even put to the Supreme Court? As in, does the vote stand? I mean, how do they judge?
Something tells me they just say rerun it, no mail-in. That's probably what I'd imagine they would say.
I would imagine that, as is already happening, the claims that mail-in is open to fraud will be dismissed by the Democrats.
But as again, there you've got the other situation, then, haven't you? That basically, if you have the situation, Trump wins on election night, and then 2 or 3 days later, when the postal votes are counted, Biden is declared the winner. Then you go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, "Oh well, you have to rehold the entire election." Now the Democrats are basically convinced we won. Now you rehold the election, and now Trump comes out on top because now it's done without mail-in votes. What do the Democrats then think? Because they're the ones who sort of thought, "Well, hang on, we won," and now another election has been held, and now we're told we didn't win.
Gentlemen, take this into account. If Trump wins, then Trump wins. If Biden wins, and it's primarily due to the mail-in voters, and there's questions about voter fraud and whatnot, I will simply remove President Biden from the equation, suffer the consequences as I might, and then we won't have to worry about the situation in general, will we?
Well, okay. Don't quite know how to react to that one.
No, me neither.
Simple.
How many pints have you had?
8.5.
Just beer.
I'm going to move on with the super chats, folks, so that
yes,
we keep.
This might be a good moment to move on. Yes.
Reconquista UK says, if we get a channel fence, as in a British channel fence, will the Britisher sit guard atop it?
Well, I mean, I would more than likely have to have some sort of platform like Sealand.
Britisher land. I could see
Britisher land, yes.
I can see that happening. Mr. Gently Benevolent says, I've lost my hairbrush. Any idea where it is? I have absolutely no idea.
Slightly to the left.
Slightly to the left. Second star to the left and straight on till morning. Any ideas, Owain?
What was this?
Where's Mr. Gently Benevolent's hairbrush?
Where is it? Has he checked on beside the dresser?
There you go. Beside the dresser, second star to the left, straight on till morning, or just away from where you are now. There you go, Mr. Gently Benevolent. Koenig Offer, who is a new name, I've not heard of you before, says, someone say the Welsh on their knees, Mercia forever.
Gosh, silence.
And there you go.
You know, it's not. It's that's Penguerin and not Mercia. Belongs to us. Hereford belongs to us, and so does Worcester.
I'm completely lost, if I'm honest.
And Shrewsbury.
No idea. They are not, but there you go. They will never be yours again. Architect of Fate has sent stuff in via Streamlabs. Thank you very much. If those of you who don't know, if you send money in via Streamlabs, I keep 90% of it as opposed to 70% of it. Architect of Fate says, I will let the Welsh horse spirits in. I will feed them. Then I will bring them north of the border, so I have something to feed the Scots to appease them. Mr. Britisher, should your beverage holder have an enhanced drink or a plain one? In my Twitter post.
I'm not sure I understand that.
I will let the Welsh horse spirits in. I will feed them. Then I will bring them north of the border, so I have something to feed the Scots to appease them. Mr. Britisher, should your beverage holder have an enhanced drink or a plain one? In my Twitter post. So I presume just say enhanced or plain, regardless of whether or not you comprehend or not.
I would say plain because I'm assuming enhanced would mean the adulteration of the tea.
So there we go. Never adulterate your tea, ladies and gentlemen. Mighty Balzac says, people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. I'm not sure if I agree with that necessarily. But I do think that there's a certain hubris which comes with the constant discussion of ideas, which disconnects you from people in general. So there's that. Jedi Knight Anakin.
So it wasn't Newton that saw the apple fall. It was the apple who saw Newton sitting.
Possibly. That's the hypothesis posited. Anna Quinn Crinchwalker says, losing frames? There's only one frame. Yes, I do apologise for the state of my internet. I'm not sure what was going on there. Reconquista UK says, Trump is lagging badly in voting intentions of the dead community.
Yeah, they do say a dead person votes Democrat, don't they?
Yeah, what was it? Tim Pool was complaining that his cats or his dog received a voting slip.
Did they actually?
I don't know. I'm not on general speaking terms with Tim, although I do know him. So who knows? Yeah, maybe I'll reach out.
For an American special.
Mad BCSE says, when you're watching the US election, watch North Carolina, because that's the bellwether. If it goes blue, the Republicans lose both the Senate and the presidency. So that's the one to watch, apparently. Thank you very much, Mad BCSE. And finally, Anna Quinn Crinchwalker, who sends $10 through. Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. And says, the issue with polls is that pollsters buy phone number lists, that they often have no idea how many numbers are repeats of people with two numbers. There's a bias towards urbanites with work and private numbers.
This is the same in the UK.
Indeed. Never trust a poll, certainly.
Is that I take the sticks way of the aggregate is the important thing to look at. I think again, if there's any coverage, Sticks' coverage, I find is honestly is some of the best I can find.
Oh, his election coverage at the time of the last election was just immense. It was fantastic.
Yeah, he does. He's amazing. I don't know how he manages it.
Are you talking about Sticks here?
Yeah, Sticks.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I think he's honestly becoming one of the biggest. He's probably one of the biggest independent news sources in America, in the US now. Even though
I don't know about that, because I don't know whether or not he's continued to enjoy the rapid growth that he managed in 2016. But
that with YouTube hitting him, he would be massive if it wasn't for YouTube hitting him.
Oh, no doubt. But that's not what we're asking here, is it?
Yeah, of course not. But yeah, I reckon. Anyway.
That is the question. I'm afraid I've had a message through that I must repeat, Britisher. Are you prepared for this?
No.
Tell me you are stealing yourself.
I am stealing myself.
Britisher's mum says, have 90% of me, you lovely boy. Thank you, Britisher's mum. That's very generous of you.
Oh, but is somebody... sorry, I thought this was the text of the message. So no, this is somebody who actually now declares to be Britisher's mum.
Yes, who says, have 90% of me, you lovely boy.
Surely Britisher only has a father, and that would be God himself, because he's omnipresent.
Well, yes, I was just thinking that this must obviously be someone from the Holy Land.
Well, the real question is whether or not your origin story involves like an uber feminist mother
I know who it is. It's Eve.
who helped develop the flux capacitor that has sent you on your way, or whether or not this is a lie perpetuated by people from the feminist lobby who would like to say that is true.
Britisher is the child of Adam and Eve. It all makes sense now.
But the bizarre thing with that is that Britisher was also Adam and Eve.
Well, that was the devil telling us with his voice when he's not a snake. No, weren't the children? I am shaky on my early Bible history. You'll forgive me, as an atheist, I have a certain excuse.
Well,
weren't Cain and Abel the sons of Adam and Eve?
They were, yes.
So, am I therefore Cain?
Well, presumably you would be Cain, as opposed to the murdered corpse of Abel.
Precisely. So does this? If I am the child of Adam and Eve, does this make me Cain?
I like to believe, aside from the fact that
your microphone or something, please, for God's sake.
I'm so sorry.
Is
it a loudness issue or a pitch issue?
Pitch issue.
You are somewhere down here.
You're bereft of tone, sire.
I do apologise.
I was saying you were the third child most forgotten. You were brought up in the garden itself.
I see.
Eve theoretically sired many children, but Cain and Abel were the first two. the question is whether or not you were merely an egg with prescience that managed to make.
Oh, that's why it's called the Britisher, because the Isles is the Garden of Eden. Oh,
it's such a beautiful origin story.
It's such a good one.
Britisher is the third son. That's all I'm saying. And finally, Architect of Fate says, rest assured, Mr. Britisher, your mug will be used for the imbibing of coffee enhanced with bourbon.
You're bluffing.
You're bluffing? So the Britisher thinks you're bluffing, Architect of Fate. There is that.
I love how they call it Barry White mode now on the chat. That's great.
Oh, for God's sake. Anna Queen Cringewalker says, well, Britisher, Abel is voting for Joe, so you may have to kill him anyway. Adding that last bit there.
Abel voted Remain.
Abel voted Remain, ladies and gentlemen. He
wanted to stay in the garden.
Although Kane was the kind of vegetarian vegan option, so I don't know about that. Anyway, that's all I unfortunately that we have time for this evening. We've been going for 2 hours and a quarter, but hopefully I will see you in the week for another video or another stream. Anything to shill on behalf of Owine, Tailed Feature, or the Britisher going on here?
I had a stream yesterday on the just after the collapse of the Roman Empire about the Romanesque architecture on the Foundations podcast channel, ladies and gentlemen. Please go and check it out.
So this is the Foundations podcast. Do search for that on YouTube. If you want to check that out. Any videos coming out soonish or recently, Britisher, that you wish to promote?
Well, I have a video that's out 3 hours ago. Well, 4 hours ago.
Named?
Our Story.
Our Story.
History of the Western world in 30 minutes.
The history of the Western world in 30 minutes. Do go and check that out. Sounds like it.
What's going to take us hundreds of episodes? Britisher did in 30 minutes.
Sounds like an absolute lark. Colin P. Smith, if you go into the description of this video and look, you should find a Discord link. You can jump in there and then find me via that. Unfortunately, we're in streamer mode at the moment, so I can't tell you my exact credentials, but not so obvious on Discord. Thank you very much to everyone for watching. We will see you next time. And until then, have a great week. Buy some merch, enjoy the show, and we'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Toodle pip.
No star.